I am really charged up about today's discussion. And as it happens, before I had my mom, we bought a robotic companion pet for my mom. She named it Blue, and and as you can see, they come usually with a red bandana. She put a blue bandana, and she said, and Steve, make sure that you let everybody know when Blue isn't on, I stick this little bone in Blue's mouth, and it makes me feel really happy. But our guest today is Steve Cohn, who is with Capital Caring Health. And Steve, before we dive in to robotic companion pets, let's get to know you, Capital Caring Health, a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Steve. I'm really thrilled to be with you and all the participants today. Well, Capital Caring Health is now in its 47th year. And it was one of the first 10 hospice organizations to begin operation in the United States back in 1977. Our service area is Washington metro area, all of Washington, D.C., 7 counties in Northern Virginia, and 3 counties in Maryland. We care for about 20,000 patients and families a year. We're a not-for-profit, and I also help to run our national network of 110 nonprofit hospice providers across the country. And that's important because if you go to our homepage, capitalcaring.org, you'll see our care number, our 24-hour care number that you can call. You'll also see an 800 number that you can call. So if you have a loved one, a relative, a close friend who you think needs palliative care or hospice care in any other part of the country, you can call that one number and be immediately connected to one of our sister nonprofit organizations.
Oh,
Which is
wow.
a fabulous thing.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that. That's great, and it's right there at the top of the page.
And yours truly, I made that happen 3 years ago. So I'm very proud of the fact that we provide that number for people to call.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, Steve, before we dive into the discussion on robotic pets, how tell us a little bit about you and how did your path lead to a career in this field?
So I spent most of my career on Wall Street, running marketing for well-known companies, American Express, Citigroup twice, and Fidelity Investments. And but in 2010, I decided I'd like to kind of give back, and I was offered the job of executive vice president at AARP. So I moved down here from New York in 2010 to run all of the business operations and membership and partnerships at AARP, which I did for 6 years. And then I helped a friend of mine who was running the American Bar Association. And no offense to lawyers, I could only do that for a couple of years. And and in any event, I knew the chair of the board of Capital Caring from my early days at AARP. He got a hold of me one day and said, would I ever consider coming to Capital Caring because they could really use my expertise in marketing, communications, and philanthropy. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I'll do that. So it will be 5 years this July that I've been helping to run Capital Caring. And it's just very fulfilling. Our clinical staff is amazing. If people don't understand hospice care, they should, because at the end of life, the alternative is repeated hospitalizations. Who wants that when you can be cared for the vast majority of the time in your home or wherever you reside? And we're not only caring for the patient, we're really caring for the family, all the people, family and friends who are part of the patient's, sphere. And if there is no family or friends, we have volunteers that act as family, as does our staff. So it is such an incredible benefit, and it's free. And people are uninsured. We cover that expense thanks to philanthropy. And also, it's proven that you live longer if you're in hospice care with a terminal illness, because mentally you're more comfortable being cared for in your home or wherever you reside. And also, we don't over medicate people. And oftentimes, chemotherapy, for instance, at a certain point can kill someone sooner than if you just stop it, right? So,
Oh, yeah. In fact, just last week, one of my favorite guests on this platform is a woman named Ginger Smith, who was in a nursing home for 2 years with all these diagnoses. She was placed on hospice where they took her off all medicines except for pain meds. And
right,
she's living independently in a condo in Southern California. I mean, it's
right, right.
yeah, it's
Well,
not
it's
the story is not always like an immediate end of life.
You're not giving up on life. You're
Yeah,
giving up on a better life for a longer period of time.
yeah.
That's so
All right.
that's
No, this is great, great. And okay, so let's dive into, what made
I
you,
have a cat, you have a dog,
yeah, yeah. But what
you have a bird.
oh, I love the birds too. But how did these robotic pets kind of come into your orbit, and
Yeah,
how is Capital Caring utilizing them, and
sure.
y- you know
I actually met the manufacturers of these amazing pets when I was at AARP, and when I and I, you know, so I knew about them. And in fact, one of the clinical studies that was done by AARP on how amazing these pets are with different types of folks. And 2 years into capital caring here, I said, wait a minute, these pets have been proven, among other things, to really make a difference most of the time with dementia sufferers, including those, any form of dementia, including Alzheimer's. And there are about 20 clinical studies that point that out. And by the way, in the hospice world, on average, about half of our patients, and this is true nationally, not just at Capital Caring, about half of our patients have they have some form of dementia as well as some other disease or just dementia. Um, and so we also have about 1,000 patients a day in palliative care, which means they're chronically ill but not terminally ill. And so one of the major positives that these pets provide is that the vast majority of the time with dementia sufferers, who are often in their middle and late stage of dementia, confused, agitated, antisocial, angry, you introduce a pet to them, dog, cat, or bird, and sometimes almost instantaneously, their personality changes and they smile and they become calm. And this is something that's theirs, this pet. And they often name the pet after a pet they had in the past or a new name. They usually keep the pet with them all the time. These robotic pets respond just like real pets to sight, sound, and touch. So the more you interact with them, as Steve, you know full well, the more they respond back. And often, believe it or not, medications that these folks are on can be reduced, sometimes eliminated, just by handing them a pet for their own use. And so it not only improves the daily life of the dementia sufferer, it improves the daily lives of those interacting with them, like their loved ones, their caregivers, either family or professional or both. And it's just miraculous to see, absolutely miraculous for a pet that is $150, operates on 4C batteries that usually last up to a year before you have to replace them. So, it provides comfort and joy to someone in major distress. And beyond dementia, the pets are also very effective with folks of all ages who are suffering from depression, maybe isolated. And by the way, in the case of dementia sufferers and other people, but in the case of dementia sufferers, often if they're in a facility, most facilities don't allow real pets, certainly not for personal use. And also a dementia sufferer could inadvertently harm a real pet. So these are a wonderful solution. Absolutely wonderful.
And the reason that we bought this one for my mom when they first came out. Like, and what's interesting, there was actually Vincent Hall in McLean, Virginia,
Yep.
was one of the first communities to have robotic animals in the United States. This is something that's been done in Asian culture, and it was Paro the robotic seal. And I remember going to the event, but Paro the robotic seal cost $5,000. Okay, but it was amazing to see the reaction of the residents and the positive aspects to it, but it's cost prohibitive,
Right,
and then,
right. These pets were created to be totally affordable. As a matter of fact, the company, which is called Ageless Innovation, is a spinoff of Hasbro. So
yeah,
Hasbro developed these pets about 8 years ago, thinking they were going to be for kids, which kids love them too, but they found that moms were buying the pets for their moms, not for their
yep,
daughters. And so because Hasbro focuses exclusively on kids, they spun off the Robotic Pet Group back then, and it's been operating independently ever since. Although they collaborate on their headquarters are literally across the street in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. There's something that is also brand new from both companies are intergenerational games.
yeah. They sent me those, and here I'll pull up the website. But what I was going to say about, like, what we bought this for my mom about 8 years ago when those first came out,
Yeah,
because she always loved having a pet dog, but her lifestyle, it's not practical anymore. And 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 okay, so this is Joy for All. I'll throw it in there into chat. But these are the games that you're talking about, Steve.
correct. Yes.
He sent me these two a while back. And folks, what's really interesting is when you play these redesigned games, Life, Trivial Pursuit, and Scrabble, it makes you realize how um the puzzle piece or the game pieces are not easy to grab for anybody. Forget about somebody with arthritis.
Oh, I know. And then they make them extra large in these
Yeah,
scraps.
and how the questions are not necessarily suited for all generations. And
Right.
I
You can
really
you can
thought,
pick your generation.
yeah, I thought it was pretty clever, some of the things that they've done. But
By the way, Steve, and folks, you can buy all of these games and all of the pets from Capital Caring. If you do, it's a tax deduction, and also uh, part of the fee, part of the $150, we put in our charity care fund to care for folks that have no insurance, but need hospice care, because we turn no one away regardless of ability to pay.
oh,
So
yeah. So look, it's here on your web page, and I'll share this again. Robotic companion pets, and you can donate to support veterans with dementia, donate to support terminally illness, order a pet for yourself or a loved one, donate birds to terminally ill. This is great. So folks, again, if you're interested in one of these for your loved one, consider going to Capital Caring versus going to Amazon or to Joy for All, because a portion will go towards the this this great
The
organization.
Charity Care Fund, yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure, Steve, to address an email that I received from Noel earlier this morning in anticipation of this event, because I think it'll create some good discussion for us. And Noel says, a friend of mine told me, uh, I told a friend about my 19-year-old cat, and she brought up the subject of stuffed cat toys. It it's fine they're presenting as stuffed animals, but they do not replace a family pet. She seemed to think they would. What happens if a dementia patient figures out these are toys? How infantilizing is that? What if the patient has hallucinations? And Noel, I will tell you that when my mom dropped this off today, because I told her I was having the discussion, I sort of said, "Hey, mom, I think some people are going to, on the discussion, are going to sort of question, the validity of a stuffed animal." And her response to me was, "Oh, this isn't a pet, honey. But it makes me feel good, and it reminds me of Naomi. That was one of her pet pugs, and like I said, she's changed the bandana. She has a little, and it's not like she uses this thing every day, whereas some people do. But it puts a smile on her face. But Steve, I'm sure you've had this response, like Noel's response is, are these just stuffed toys and this, that, and the other? How do you and your team respond to that?
Well, the vast majority of the time, they're viewed as real pets by dementia sufferers. And with other folks, they know they're not real, but they still love having them around and interacting with them, including just me with in my office. So do they work 100% of the time? No, but 90% of the time or more, they do. With regard to folks suffering from any form of dementia, or folks that can't have a real pet for whatever reason, or lost a loved pet and don't feel like getting another live pet. So all kinds of different permeations. And, they just provide a tremendous amount of satisfaction to the vast majority of the folks that interact with them. Nothing's 100%.
No.
And by the way, I don't call them stuffed. I mean, a stuffed animal basically just sits there. These have artificial intelligence built into them, which is why they respond to sight, sound, and touch. Their eyes have motion detectors. So when you actually walk into a room, they notice that and they respond. So, that's pretty cool. And Steve, I also should mention that there are also a good amount of clinical data plus responses I get from folks. These animals work very well with children who have autism, calms them,
Yeah.
makes them more socially forward. And so autism is another disease that is greatly helped by introducing one of these pets. And two other things I want to mention, very important, and I always try to make these 2 points. One, they're not communal pets. So in other words, if you're giving your loved one a dog or a cat or a bird, and they're a dementia sufferer, it's theirs. And they'll usually name it. Now, if they want to share it with other people, with family, with grandkids, if they want to share it, that's fine. But it's not a communal pet that, oh, by the way, you have access to. It's your pet.
Mhm.
So that's something I'd really like to point out. The other thing that I get asked occasionally is, well, will they disturb real pets that happen to be in the house? And the answer is no. And I have personal experience with that because my wife and I have two real cats in the house, and we have all these robotic pets floating around too. They ignore the robotic pets because these pets have no scent. Okay, so animals rely upon scent 100% for interacting with other animals, including humans, right?
Mhm.
Um, and these pets have no scent. So they may look at them, um, but they ignore them because they can't smell them.
Yeah, no. I had the same experience with my dog when we visit my mom. Okay, we got a bunch of questions and comments that I want to make sure that we address. Um, uh, so Aurelia says, I did not know that these were in existence. My pet died in my arms last year. My 9-year-old grandson suggested to Nana that I need an AI dog, and yeah, give it a shot, Aurelius. Now, this is what I love. Jose's response to Aurelius, she says, where Jose has been doing some research in AI, and
Uh-huh.
it makes utterances by the elders understood. So for example, this is a great thing for those of us who have loved ones, whether they're young or old, that be making um, may not be articulating, that they're more making utterances. Here is something that's going to respond to those utterances
That's great.
versus the typical caregiver that just walks by somebody that is making sounds or noises.
So, Steve, there's a question about what animals are available, only dogs. And the answer is dogs are available in two colors, golden, like Steve, you have, or spotted, which are brown and white. And then we have three different cat colors. The cats are fantastic too. This happens to be a silver cat with green eyes. The cats come in silver, tuxedo, which means black and white, and tabby, which is brown. And then the birds who chirp and sing, um, we have a cardinal and also a bluebird. So, and by the way, the popularity of the dogs and cats is really the same as it is with real pets um, in America. So about 60% of the requests are for dogs and 40% for cats, which kind of mirrors the households in America that have pets.
Now,
So
I love the introduction of the birds. This is relatively new, and I
yeah,
believe that like so one of the birds don't they have like a little like walker or wheelchair attachment that can be
yes, they have a walker or wheelchair attachment. The reason these birds were developed is a 95-year-old woman got a hold of the principals of the company and said, could they create something that she could put on her walker to remind her to use the walker?
huh.
And so that's why they created the birds. And yeah, they come with that attachment. And their brand name is Squawker Walker.
Oh, I love
So
it. I love
now
it.
our
And
terminal children also love these because they can hold them in their little hands. And and of course, adults who were birders during their life. Um, Obviously, many of them like to have the bird. So um, I get asked a lot of are other animals coming down the pike, and the answer is no. So
so now, an interesting thing when I talked about Paro, the baby seal, which was this Asian inspired AI robotic
$5,000 pet, right? Yeah.
$5,000 bet. And the interesting thing is when I was at that discussion, this is many years ago, the first question is, well, why aren't you doing dogs and cats? And the response was, it's many people have had a pet dog and cat, but nobody's had a pet baby seal. So, the concept was that you don't necessarily know how a seal would react, but I think at the end of the day, the the I love the fact that this company has done dog, cats, and birds. I mean,
And these pets, by the way, are very realistic in terms of look and feel. So they have pads on their feet,
yeah, yeah,
like
no,
real pets. They have real fur. They have fur. Um, it's really different than from a stuffed animal. This fur actually sheds a little bit, like cats and dogs. And it's also very important to understand that they're not high tech from a battery standpoint, and that's on purpose. So there's no lithium battery. There's no connection to
yeah,
recharge.
it's like right in here, and
Right,
you
right.
know,
You can replace the batteries by just turning a little screw. Four
and then
seat,
yeah, and
four
what's cool about this too is that it's you've got on, off, and mute. So like when you got it on, it makes a little barking sound on the on, but then you can do mute if you want the movement without being
right. And the cat purrs and meows, and the dog has a heartbeat. The cat also moves around and lies on its back. The birds chirp and sing six different songs. And the birds have a one of those round little batteries in them, which lasts
yeah.
quite probably 2 years.
And let's see, we had a question. It's what do the pets do? Does the dog bark? You can make it bark. Does the cat purr? Yes, but you can also mute it. And then do they move or walk? No, they don't move or walk. They
Correct.
basically are they sit there, but like my mom will move it around her apartment.
Yeah.
And
The
the
cat actually moves its paws in the air and lies on its back.
oh,
Uh,
that's cute. Um,
but they don't move down they don't move down the carpet or anything.
Okay, and there's a couple of things that they definitely don't do. They don't need a walk or a litter box, and
Right.
you're unless you put this in a walkway, you're not going to trip over it. And that I think is one of the reasons why my mom and others embrace this form of robotic pet because folks, um, some of a lot of falls for older adults are tripping over a cat or pulling your arm out when you're walking a dog. And so, not to
Yeah.
say that this is again a replacement, but those aspects of managing a live pet, while they can be fulfilling, they can also be challenging. Um, Now, let's see. I've got a question about capital caring from somebody. The Anne says we're a government uh, com operation. Does capital caring offer a tax exemption? So when you purchase these, is it tax exempt?
Yes.
Okay.
Come up when you purchase
Okay.
from us.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
And by the way, that reminds me, we provide these pets. I provide these pets regionally and nationally. So, and I have a special program called Pets for Vets. And thanks to grants that I've received, I've provided, for instance, a whole bunch of these pets and the games back in October to every one of the 132 long-term care centers for veterans run by the VA. And half of the veterans in those long-term care centers have some form of dementia.
I
So
love it.
that
And
was
I'm
thanks to a big grant that I got from a foundation who wishes to remain anonymous.
Wow, that's always impressive to me. Okay, and I dropped the link to Capital Caring. Now, this is something that I was not aware of. And somebody asks, Mary says, "What's the difference between these pets and the Sony dog?" And I just looked up the Sony dog online, and I was not familiar with the Sony dog. Steve, have you done any research or investigation on this product?
No, because it's too expensive.
Ah, okay. Yeah. And it, you know, it's cool, but it's not, definitely not as cuddly and cute, but it looks like it may walk and move and
Yeah, it
do
does. It does.
things
I'm
like
aware
that.
of, I'm aware
But
of, I'm aware of it. It's just, um, a, a $2,000 or $3,000 pet, you
almost
know,
$3,000 and then
isn't, isn't gonna hack it with, what we're trying to do. And, um, so we're not, I've never really explored it because there's another dog coming out soon from some other manufacturer for $6,000. And you go, okay, but um, that people just can't afford that. And organizations like ours can't either. And I can't expect people to give huge amounts of donations for a 6,000 or a $3,000 pet, which, by the way, probably don't respond as well as these pets. They may
well,
move, they'll move, but that's, I don't even think they look like real dogs, frankly.
no, it looks like a robot that
Right.
is a dog, but again, it you can see where a pet like this, a robotic device like this, let's say, is a it is also a tripping hazard, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like a regular pet. Uh
I mean,
Ariella says it's a lot easier and safer to travel on an airplane or other means of transportation. Have you found that some of the recipients of these robotic pets have they take them with them to you know on trips and to restaurants and things like that?
they absolutely do. And these pets are allowed. So, in fact, if you're in a restaurant, usually everyone wants to see them. The waiters, other patrons. I've seen that plenty of times because I bring the pets to restaurants when I'm meeting with people who want to see them firsthand and haven't. And I gave a bunch of the pets a couple of weeks ago to some folks who were down here for a conference who were going back on the Acela train to New York, and they sent me pictures of the whole Acela car with all the people looking and playing with the pets, with a dog and a cat. So yes, they travel well.
Okay. And then Mary was said, how about a demonstration? Mary, I've been kind of playing with this and I didn't make it a formal demonstration, but on mine, I can if I turn it on the bottom and I could have it on like Steve was saying, these batteries will last for a year. Now, when I'm talking, you can hopefully you can hear the dog is making little barking and panting noises, but as I kind of talk and I move and I react, the the the, the dog
Can you hear
reacts.
that?
Here, let me put
She
mine
was
on.
meowing a minute ago,
Okay. Yeah,
and now she's got her paw raised,
so
and she
hopefully,
and
Mary,
she's
that
purring. She's purring, if you can hear that.
yeah, it's hard to hear. I don't know if it's like a dog whistle, you know. We Zoom does not pick up the sound of the pets. And then so it's very simple, Mary, and hopefully that is an appropriate demonstration.
Extra
Um,
items or there's a question about extra items or accessories. They come with both the dog and the cat. They come with instructions in terms of how to clean them as well, not with water. And also each comes with a little brush so you can brush their coat. So instructions and a brush. That's it. They don't, oh, and sometimes people like your mom, they put bandanas on them, they put collars on them, they buy little beds for them.
uh my mom got dog bones, you know, I mean, it's yeah, it's it's cute and it is a little bit, this is it for some, it's a little bit hard to understand, but it's kind of like the way that I interact with Alexa now in my office is almost like she's a coworker, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Okay, let's see. Somebody says I recently purchased a dog for my husband who's at end of stage frontal temporal dementia. He did not react positively, pushing it out of the bed. I, though, thought I might continue to bring it with me when I visit to see if he would get used to it. Have you had any experience with patients at end stage dementia initially rejecting them?
yes. And um, and then if you reintroduce a good deal of the time, they accept them. So at the very end stage of dementia, they don't do, they're based, the patient probably doesn't react to anything in the last week or two of life. But yeah, I mean, not every interaction is positive, but the vast majority are. So
And the investment is, basically for the most part $100. So
right,
if it
right,
doesn't work out for your loved one, you'll probably end up enjoying it because I'm enjoying having this dog here moving when I talk. And the or maybe there's a child, or I mean, I love the idea of, I mean, folks, like a big part of what Capital Caring does is taking care of kids with cancer or hospitalized. I mean, just imagine you can't have anything in your hospital room. Certainly not a pet, but to have a device like this could really make a difference in a child's life.
right. As well as when we care for the kids in their home. And like I said, there may be live pets at home too. But a lot of these kids in the last few weeks of life, a live pet is not a good idea. So, um, and these pets are also very popular in our two inpatient centers where we care for folks that can't be cared for at home. So, for various reasons. And
Now,
so, yeah,
speaking of which, Jose said, I've noticed that some nursing homes buy only a few of these for residents to share. And he's
yeah,
just
that's not a good
reiterating
idea.
what
Yeah,
you said is that these should be something that an individual it's personalized to them. And
correct.
I could certainly see where, like, in a nursing home or in a hospice situation, when somebody leaves or passes away, now that pet could be used by somebody else. But yeah, like just having it on a table and use it, then it becomes more like a toy and an entertainment device versus something that people will
Like
name.
I said,
Imagine.
the individual patient names them the vast majority of the time,
Mm-hmm.
or a pet that they had in the past, or they just have a name that struck them and they use that name. But I hear a lot about people naming their loved one names a pet after a pet. It may be in the recent past or the distant past. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, but the vast majority of the time they name the pet. Um, if they're cognizant, obviously. So, um, and again, lots of clinical studies that just reinforce the fact that these pets can calm, reduce stress, and reduce medications a lot, which is pretty remarkable um, in folks that have dementia. And kids with autism, very helpful, extremely helpful, based upon the data that I've seen. And then all of us who consider ourselves normal like to have them around too, to your point.
Yeah,
So,
no, exactly. That's the best part about it. Man, this has been a great conversation, Steve. Um, so sort of looks like we got through most of the questions. in sort of closing, is there anything that you haven't been able to communicate either about the pets or capital caring that you'd like our community to know about?
Just that we love to get support for the pets. Any donation gratefully accepted, so that we can continue to provide them free of charge to folks that can't afford them, as well as to veterans suffering from dementia. And again, we're providing these pets regionally and nationally. And I've gotten 6 or 7 other hospice groups to do robotic pet programs, although they do it on a much smaller scale. I must say that I get daily requests for these pets,
Oh,
from
I love
our
it.
own staff, as well as from folks on the outside. So you can go to Capital Caring. There's a landing page that will take you directly to the pet stuff, which
Yeah,
is,
no, I've been sharing that. This is the one here.
yeah,
Uh,
capitalcaring.org/companion pets
yeah,
is one way to get there.
I love
Um,
it. And I've dropped this into chat. It'll be on the recording link, so it's easy to get to.
yeah,
I think this is an amazing platform, especially for a hospice, because I mean, let's face it, folks, a lot of us conversation, hospice, death, dying, it's something that we and our loved ones try to avoid. And I think that, having a program like this, it opens doors, to for an organization. And then Jose has a question. Where are you based out of, Steve?
we're here in Falls Church, Virginia.
Okay, great. The well, this is fantastic. I really appreciate this. I think this is an amazing program. We had the pets featured on the cover of our 2023 source book. It's just an amazing organization and program. And I'll make sure to put all your contact and details on the recording link. And folks, reach out to Steve and his team, share the recording, and hopefully this it can be a great resource for your team, your loved ones, and the people that you're serving. Let's see. Somebody asks, is there a professional robotic pet therapy training program for clinical staff or for hospice care? Yeah. Is there any sort of formal like training that folks can go through to sort of like introduce this to their clients?
Not really, because it's very simple. You just hand the pet to the patient.
Yeah.
Um, we use the pets in nurse training just to make our nurses familiar with them. But they kind of speak for themselves, so to speak.
Oh,
So
that's the best part about the program is
yeah,
that it's not complex. I
no,
think,
no,
and if it was, it would be harder to get these out to folks.
yeah. The
Yeah,
whole idea is, immediate fun and companionship. No training necessary.
I love it. All right, folks. Well, I can't believe it's Friday. Everybody have a great weekend. Steve, thanks so much for
Thanks for having me.
time today and everything that you and your organization is doing. And all right, folks, we will see you at the next one of these, and I'll get this recording up shortly.
All right.